Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of The Articulate Fly, and we're back with another Southwest Virginia fishing report with Matt Reilly of Matt Reilly Fly Fishing. How you doing, Matt?
Doing pretty good, Marvin. How are you?
As always, just trying to stay out of trouble. And, we were talking, I took a look at your weather before we started recording, and you're telling me not to believe the stories that you're going to get a fair amount of rain in the next week to 10 days.
Well, that's just my, cynicism after watching the forecast for the last, 6 months or so. They keep calling for rain and then it disappears. And we did get a little bit last night. It probably rained for an hour between 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon, but didn't affect the rivers much. If anything, they were clearer today than they were yesterday, and they've dropped a little bit. We're still just kind of hoping for rain, but not too much, and just kind of living on the roller coaster that is fall in Virginia.
Yeah, which probably means your muskie fishing, although it might be a little tough with low, clear water, is probably getting pretty good. And I imagine you're throwing streamers for big trout somewhere.
Yeah, both have been, pretty good. The one complaint on the muskie front is just really clear water. I can't tell you how many fish I've seen, get up and spook away from the boat once they get, 10 feet from the boat and just hang up, and it just gets difficult. They're spookier and a little bit warier, and it's been a little bit of a challenge, but not too bad. And then the tailwater streamer fishing's been pretty good the days we've been out. Every day is different, but we've seen some pretty nice fish in the last couple of weeks, and we're just going to keep rolling with those trains through the rest of the fall and into the winter.
Well, there you go. On the muskie front, obviously I know, when it's clear and they can see the boat and the game is over. Any tricks for folks to try to get them to hit the fly before they figure out what the game is?
Yeah. So I actually have an article coming out in Hatch Magazine probably here pretty soon about this, because it's kind of been my daily life. I've been out scouting or fishing the last really since I started muskie fishing this year. But big part of it is speed. Absolutely, you stand absolutely zero chance if you get a fish in close to the boat and they are not super engaged with the fly and they're just sort of, curiosity following or just kind of lumbering in real lazily, checking things out. They've got like both their eyes going in two different directions, looking at your fly and everything around them and up at the boat. And the biggest thing that I tell people to do when it's real low and real clear is basically just speed everything up. And it comes down to basically trying to trigger a fish, to walk them through the stages of engagement before you get to, within range of the boat where they'll potentially spook or hang up or whatever. And I've seen it happen dozens of times where we're out and, getting follows and follows and follows, that they'll get 10, 15 feet from the boat and then just turn and bolt off. And, maybe you can still see them, but they're just looking at you and they, won't really do anything after that. But, so pretty much, making long casts and, fishing fast sort of to try to force a decision on the part of the fish, because for the most part, it translates to streamer fishing for trout too. Where, if you've ever streamer fished on a big tailwater, or, even on a mountain stream where you have high water events, you probably, run into the situation where the fish that are in really slow, flat, calm water are a lot more difficult to get to eat than in the fast sort of pocket water, where they have to make a split-second decision. And, most of the water, if not all of the water that we're fishing for muskie in the wintertime is that really slow, flat water. So speeding things up and just trying to force that decision on the part of the fish is sort of the best tool that I have, on top of, just fishing fairly natural and realistic imitations. So that's pretty much what I do. And, the rest is up to Mr. and Mrs. Muskie.
Yeah, there you go. It's funny because this will segue really well into our question from Logan. And apparently he's chasing muskie on the New River in Grayson County. And he was kind of curious, about, what to look for and kind of water to target the muskie. And, you were also talking about flies too. So I think if you talk a little bit about that generally, I know everywhere is different. But kind of given where we are in the season, kind of, what water should you be looking for? And you have any suggestions on, tips and tactics?
Yeah. So I would start off by saying, in terms of flies, like I just said, really clear, low water, natural colors are always my go-to. And I'm going to not give any really specific answers, because I think it's really constructive to be able to kind of do the research and figure it out, before you tie flies or buy flies or whatever. But, just figure out what bait fish are in your rivers. Muskie, their predominant diet is suckers. And something that I use a lot when I'm tying flies or sort of trying to come up with a attack plan for a specific piece of water with a specific species in mind is a website from Virginia Tech. It's the Virginia Tech Virtual Aquarium. You can go on there and they pretty much have every species that can be found in Virginia of fish, and it'll give you, home ranges, native ranges, where you can find them, what kind of water they prefer, that kind of thing. And so I would say go find the sucker species that are in the New River and, design or tie, some flies that imitate those fish. And then on top of that, another part of that too is, the nice thing about having really low clear water is that you can see a lot. And pretty much everywhere in Grayson County right now, you can see the bottom of the river. So that's an advantage because, if you float the river and you keep your eyes open, you'll be able to see where those bait fish are spending their time right now. And if you can find those fish, then the muskie will not be too far off. So I would say, do some of that, groundwork, and, just very basically for the time frame that we're in now, sort of late fall, winter, water temperatures are sub 50 most everywhere. Even after a couple of weeks or a week or so of 50 and 60 degree weather, we're still running like mid to high 40s most everywhere. They're just looking for slow, structure filled and current, protected water that fish can spend the winter in, and not have to really work against current. The river comes way up. And, like I said, a lot of times it comes in the form of big pools, with, wedge systems in it, boulder fields, in the bottom of big pools, stuff like that. Wood in deeper stretches of river, all that stuff is good to target. And, fish do move around day to day, especially when you have, water levels and weather fluctuating. So, and again, we got really clear water, so you'll be able to see fish if they're following your flies. So I would say get out on the river, throw flies at all of that kind of cover and structure and habitat, and kind of let the fish tell you where they are. If you're seeing fish come off of the bank where you've got big, deep woods, and start focusing on that. If you're seeing fish laying on sand in the middle of the river, then, start kind of fishing the middle of these deeper pools. So that's what I would say. Muskies are crazy critters. They, I don't even know if they know what they're doing half the time, but just biggest thing with muskie fishing is going in with some confidence and with an attack plan, and then just really paying attention to everything that's going on around you.
Well, there you go. And, folks, we love questions on the articulate fly. You can email them to us or send them to us on our Facebook or Instagram page. And if we use your question, I'll send you some articulate fly swag. And we will enter a drawing for some cool stuff from Matt at the end of the season. And we'll be drawing for that in January. And, Matt, like I always do, I know you've got your article coming out in Hatch, but I bet you've got something that you've written that's coming out pretty soon for the Rural Virginian as well.
Yeah, the column this week is a pretty general one about just how to dress and prepare for, fishing in the cold and staying comfortable and happy and safe and all that. So I've written articles like that in the past that just sort of a reminder with a couple of new ideas in there in terms of a lot of stuff that I employ on guide trips and when I'm fishing personally, just to keep myself happy and comfortable and fishing hard. So that's coming out this week. And yeah, like I said, there's a couple of things coming out in Hatch. It'll likely be, that article I mentioned earlier about, speed and clear water. And then also have had a pretty interesting addition to my winter fishing arsenal that I think's been missing for a long time. It's a boat-worthy French press. So now when we get freezing and demoralized in the wintertime, I can pull that out and warm everybody up and have some nice coffee on the river. So probably review that here soon too before Christmas time. And that's all I got coming out this week.
Yeah, and I'll drop links to all those in the show notes. And I imagine you're probably getting pretty booked up for muskie season, and it's kind of crazy, but probably people are already starting to think about booking trout trips and smallie trips in the spring. You want to let folks know how to find you so they can get out and fish with you?
Yeah, that's a good point. I would say, if you're interested in smallmouth fishing, some of our best fishing and some of the dates that I push first, not just because they come up first, but because they're, pretty prime, are, April, May, and sometimes early June. And yeah, I think I've booked like 20 or 25 of those dates in the last couple of weeks. So if you're interested, I would, say to reach out sooner rather than later. And you can do that via the website, which is MattReillyFlyFishing.com. And my phone number and email and all that's on there. So reach out however you feel best.
Well, there you go. And, this is our last fishing report of 2020. So I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Matt, and tight lines, everybody.
Thank you, Marvin. Merry Christmas.